Okay, let me hit one button here.
Okay.
All right. Hang on, I gotta double check. Make sure that switched. Yes, it did. Do that. 6, 14.
Todd and Rob in the afternoon.
Hey, afternoon delight.
With Todd and Rob. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here we are on the New Media Show. Happy Thanksgiving, Rob.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody that's listening to this, whether, they're listening today or after Thanksgiving.
Yep. Gobble.
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving if you're watching this after.
Yep, absolutely. And hope you don't spend too much on the Friday, big Friday shopping day. So we are lit and live if everything worked out right. I don't know. We'll see. It hasn't worked too much so far, but we did get some boost in from the last show.
Yeah, that's always great to see that. Yeah.
Apparently there was some liquidity issues, and I do not. I'm like, don't understand this at all. And
liquidity issues. So you're saying that crypto has some liquidity issues right now?
My node had some liquidity issues. There was again. So temporary.
Join the party, right?
It's plenty of crypto in there. There's plenty of enough in there to cover. But temporarily, we are on GetAlby. We're using the GetAlby system to be able to get our boost in. But we did have some come in on the old system before it flipped over. And we had, again, some boosts that came in. And I do want to give a shout out to those. I got 1,948 sats from Brian and Melissa and said, I'm listening live. That must mean that Podping pinged. So that was 5 days ago. So very cool on that. We got 1,948 sats again from Brian. He says, last week boosts were failing. Hopefully this one makes it through the series of tubes to you. Yes, we did get it, Brian. 36,000 sats from Dave Jones. Here's a 36-year curmudgeon boost. So must be in reference to our 18 plus 18 years in podcasting. We got 21,112 sats again from Dave Jones. He says, hey, Todd, we had to open a new channel to you. Looks like your existing channel with us was tapped out. Getting real close on the podping.cloud lit now tag. So,
wow.
Again, Dave, maybe I'm going to have to pay for some consulting to understand what this liquidity thing is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either.
And right. Maybe that is because Adam said, damn, I just opened a 2 million sat channel to you. And then Todd switches to GetAlby, and I'm like, well, if payments aren't coming through, that's not good. But apparently when they opened the liquidity channel, all that money came in. But we did get some boost as well. We got a boost. Now, this is the new system, Saturn. It's not Heliopad. Saturn says it's from Papa PhD. He said, I've been a listener for a while, and I love how much you guys have taught me about the history of podcasting, but also what you're constantly teaching me about its future. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Rob. And that was a 49,000, actually it's a 50,000 boost. So actually, Papa, you can send me an email to my normal email address that I'm the 50,000 booster, and we'll send you a sticker pack. So thanks for that. I got to get Adams out too. I've got 2 I have to ship, or maybe some more. I don't know. I'm behind. I'm behind administrative and a bunch of stuff, and I'm ready for a 4-day off, Rob.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about. Well, I got 2 things. Dave came through. He heard our motion and our second on 2 shows ago, and the board of directors of Podcasting 2.0 implemented much of what we asked them to do within the stat system. Primarily Dave did, and we now have some data which we can start tracking to be able to see what's going on in the podcasting space. Now, currently it's a JSON output file. And if anyone wants to donate any time to kick this into a web page, I've got a great domain for it where we could start having some of this stuff. He's going to add more, but I want to make sure that, let's see here, I'm going to lose track of things. So let's cover this first, and then we can come back to it if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So feeds with new episodes in the past 7 days, 209,907. Feeds with new episodes in the last 14 days, 287,029. Feeds with new episodes in the last 30 days, 365,225. 60 days, 437,523. Feeds with new episodes in 90 days, 489,701. But this is where it gets interesting. He's also given me the number of new episodes. So we should actually write this down, and I'll do a screen capture here on this machine, make sure that we have this so we can compare this going forward, because what would be really cool if someone builds a graph thing, we can see this over time, what's happening. So, okay, so feeds with new episodes in the last 7 days, again, 209,000. New episodes published in the last 7 days, 481,000.
Todd, to just stop. Compare that to the 10-day number off of the podcast index, and it's 254,000 shows. So
right. So what I'm trying
off with like 40,000.
So I'm trying to keep 7, 14, 30. So we have some increments here. So at the 7-day mark, 209,000. At the 14-day, 287. So let's 209, 287. That's 1 week, 2 week. And then if we look at 1 week, 2 week in a episodes created, new episodes in 7 days was 481. So that's a ratio of 2.1, 2.2 episodes per 7 days. And then if we look at the 14-day, where there's been 287,000 shows that have updated, and the number of episodes in 14 days was 968, just shy of 1 million. So what that really is, again, is about a 3-something ratio there. So it tells me if we're at 14 days with 287,000 shows updating every 14 days, we have 968,000 new episodes coming out.
So shows with new episodes, right?
Total new episodes.
That's total new, just new episodes.
The total new episodes in the last 14 days was 968,825.
Got it.
Shows with new episodes in 14 days was 287, as compared to, again, 7 days, 209,907, with new episodes in that time frame, 481. So it looks to me, and again, it's pretty obvious here that we have most shows are doing 2 episodes a week, and some are doing 1. And at least in this, and again, we'll have to get this graphed. And I could have thrown this in a Excel spreadsheet, and probably I should, so we can track this week to week. But interestingly, in the last 90 days, so 489,000 shows have had a new episode in the last 90 days. That total number of new episodes was 5.7 million new episodes.
Okay.
So that number is concerning to me, because it really shows that you're going to see the frequent, we start graphing this out, and it's really going to show where the frequency is. And whatever that ratio may be. But if we just look at 7 days right now, keep it simple. 209, 907, 481, 178.
Yeah, I think it's averaging out to 1 episode every 2 weeks, right?
Well,
works out to be?
no, because in 7 days, 209,000 shows updated, but there was 481,000 new episodes. So
Okay.
more than two point something. Again, I don't have my calculator out here. So you have this in a spreadsheet. I could get this data in a second here, but you roughly two
Multiple
point
episodes a week is what you're
yeah
saying.
2.2 something episode 2.1 something episodes per week is the average.
Wow, that's average. Wow.
That's the average. But if we go and take that and bump that up to 90 days, and you look at 489,000 shows updated, but with 5.7 million, of course, 90 days would be 12 weeks. So, you take 5.7 million, divide it by 12, it kind of gives you that running number.
Right.
So, what is that? The way to do this simple
That's-
math.
That's about 2 episodes a week.
About
right?
2 episodes a week. So, some are going to do more, some are going to do less. So, it'll all average out. So, it gives you an idea.
Yeah,
where
it does.
and we'll be able to watch now. Now, this, I'm not going to give this URL out. And here's the reason why I'm not going to give it out. If you're not participating in Podcast 2.0, you don't deserve this link. If you're participating in the Podcast 2.0 ecosphere and contributing and doing something with it, you'll be participating in the groups where this type of data is being shared. So I'm not going to share the URL. It'll probably be out there public at some point.
Mhm.
But you don't deserve this data unless you're contributing to helping grow the space. I'm being an ass, but that's the way it's going to be. They
So,
can hear it
Todd,
somewhere
this-
else.
This now, granted, this is basically an average, so
Right.
it's not like it's a weighted average, so we don't really have a clear indication of what's going on. But
It's
it's
a rough.
yeah. And if it is true that we're averaging 2 episodes a week, I don't even know if it's right to say an average.
Right,
but
right.
What's the median? Right.
Right.
That's
what-
that.
And probably
Right.
with this data, we'll be able to figure the median out because we've got 3, 7, 10, 14, 30, 60, 90 days worth of data updated daily. So someone could, again, pull these numbers daily. And
But it does point to an interesting kind of industry
right.
direction, which is that, and I think we've known this for a long time, is that one strategy to grow faster
Oh,
is to do multiple episodes a week.
absolutely. I have ancillary proof shows that do it. Okay. If you do weekly, that's good.
Mhm.
If you do twice a weekly, that's better.
That's
and if
double.
you do every other week,
Right.
it's not as good. You can see it in the numbers of show growth.
Right.
But again, there's different things here going on too. There are some shows that are weekly that are such a required listen that they may get more value than the show that's twice a week if they're not being as valuable in the content. There are, in my one hand, there are some shows I have to listen to every week. I have
Mhm.
to. I would listen twice a week if there was 2 shows a week. But would the value go down? So again, it has to be if you have content that is valuable, and we'll gauge on. So there's more to this than just saying 2 shows a week are better.
Right. It's not that simple.
It's not
right.
that simple.
Right.
Now, even more interesting here, feeds with the value block that people can use to boost this show. Can actually send a boostagram, or you can be on newpodcastapps.com. Some of the apps will let you actually stream Satoshis by the minute. You can donate 1,000 Satoshis a minute for every minute you listen to the show, and it'll show an engagement factor by
Mhm.
even if you do 1 Satoshi a minute. I don't recommend that, but let's say 10.
Right.
And you do 10 a minute, you can actually see in these graphs where people leave. So because it's sending a donation every minute that the person is active, this is really you talk about all the things that's going on with the event tag and all this other stuff that they've been talking about, there is the potential here for content creators to get insane amounts of insight into their audience if they have members participating in the value for value model where they're donating by the minute, micropayments by the minute. So 10,554 shows currently have a value block. Feeds with transcripts, 22,199 shows have transcripts in their feed. This is disheartening. Only 22,000 shows have implemented transcripts in their podcast. Now,
That's a pretty low number.
Not all the platforms support the transcript tag. So Buzzsprout, RSS.com, Blueberry, and some other hosting platforms have implemented the transcript tag. So if you're at Podbean or you're at wherever platform and you don't have the ability to drop a transcript into your feed, you're not getting counted in these numbers. So if you're a listener and you're on a platform and you can't link your transcript, you need to be kicking the door in of your hosting provider and say, hey, let's get this engaged. Episodes with transcripts so far, 538,960. Buzzsprout by far is leading the pack in number of shows and episodes with transcripts because I don't think they make their customers pay for it. I think they do the transcripts for free for their shows. I think that's my understanding.
Yeah, I believe that's true. Yeah.
So, again, I can't afford to pay that bill to do it free for all our shows. I'm already getting our transcript bill and wow, it's not cheap, but we're also creating closed caption quality transcripts too. So we know there's some other systems out there that will generate transcripts essentially for free. But again, the quality isn't, but it's pretty sad. If you think about that, this is a grand total, 538,960 shows with episodes have transcripts. Of those 22,000 shows, they've created 538,000 episodes with transcripts. So if we're looking at the scheme of things, 10% have adopted. If you just look at, if you look at the 7-day number, 10%, 11% have adopted transcripts for their shows. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's only going to grow. There's no question. The other question that I have in combination with this discussion of frequency of publish is, I think I've seen some data out there that's been shared. I don't know how accurate it is or how across the industry it is, but we've seen a reduction in, just a couple of minutes anyway, over a period of time, year over year, of the duration of an episode.
Right.
Do you think, it's an interesting mapping. So are we heading towards increasingly, and I don't know what the pattern is here, are we increasing the amount of frequency of publish as a strategy? And then at the same time, as a counterbalance to that, the content duration is gradually getting shorter too. I kind of wonder if we're heading down that trend line.
I don't know.
I don't think that the data tells us that right now, but
yeah,
I think it's an interesting question. And I've been thinking about this for a long time because, people have been debating in the industry for years. Well, what's the ideal length of a podcast, right?
Yep.
And there's some people on one side that say, shorter is better. And then there's other, side of the discussion that's like, well, the average length of a top 200 podcast is 50 minutes, so you get that into the spectrum. But I just kind of wonder if we're seeing, if frequency is going up is a strategy to grow more rapidly. That's to get your content in front of people on a more consistent basis because people are, bouncing around a lot of different content. So if you can publish more frequently, and I know that, a guy like Gary V's out there talking about, publishing like 20 post to these social platforms every day. I mean,
Yeah.
frequency is what it's all about now, right?
Well, he has a whole team. So
He does, and
yeah,
that's not a perfect example of what most podcasters can do.
right.
There's no question, but it does point to maybe some bigger trends in the industry around how to get people's attention. I know the number one question, and I know, Todd, you face it every day because I do it too,
Mhm.
is how do I grow my show? What's the approach that's working out there for people? And this may be a little bit of a glimpse into what might be one optional approach.
So those of you that are listening to the show, take note of this time hacker. I'm at 20 minutes, 27 seconds. Well, it's somewhere around there because the stream was up before so it's maybe start about 19 minutes on the video. Let me show you something, Rob, that is going to blow people's minds when they start seeing this.
On Sats?
On Sats. This is can you see this menu coming back at you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something called Conshack, Conshax, and this ties into our Get Alby account.
Mhm.
And because we've only gotten one donation through Get Alby, this data is pretty thin. But it's actually going to show the analytics of earnings. And this could be give you an overview. It can give you, again, there's no data in here because we're not getting a lot of stuff coming in. Give you a Boostgram timeline. It gives you analytics. It shows you sats over episode duration. So it actually shows how long into the episode where people were donating. There's something called Thunder Feeds. It enables you to publish paid content without. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Didn't know about that. That's something new. And then there's other platform called Saturn that basically shows my sat balance at 357,000 sats. And some of that was 3 of those payments were me funding my wallet up. Number of users contributing. And then again, it talks about the Boostgram, talks about the contributors. It puts them in a ranking, shows it'll actually see when someone's donated by episode, shows when the show is live, and the live boosts that come in. You can actually see when that happens. So there's ecosystems now being built to give analytical data that no podcaster has ever seen ever before.
Right.
So, but my Geek News Central show, I'm now finally moving. I've been hammering it for 2 months, 3 months. Go get a new podcastapps.com. Go get a new podcastapps.com. Go get a new podcastapps.com. Get Fountain. And people are now starting to finally migrate over. I keep telling them, don't be on a legacy. Don't be on a legacy app. And I'm calling it like any app that is not supporting this new stuff is a legacy app. It's old. They're not doing cool new stuff. So, a little peer pressure. I have nerds that listen to my show. So we'll get to see over time some of this stuff start to come in and be able to actually demonstrate and show people on live what this can mean for them and their engaged audiences. Again, it's a big experiment. And I'm totally jazzed by all of this. Don't get, earlier shows about liquid, making sure I have enough liquidity and all. That's because I was stupid enough to run my own node. Just go over to Get Alby and get yourself an account. That's the place to go.
So Todd, as you think about this, how is this different than, I'm just playing devil's advocate here a little bit. How do you think this is different than, just doing something with like a Patreon?
Why not? It's fine too.
Something with like a Glow or something like that.
Well, the difference is, if I think about, let me go ahead and load up let me tell you what the value is. So someone sent us 50,000 sats. I'm going to try to equate that into dollars. Now let me see here.
So this is,
yeah, but the key is the main difference is that no one can send me. Okay, so I've got Okay, I've got 2 million. It's not showing me a balance right now.
So would you kind of equate this to like frequent flyer miles?
Okay, so the difference is it is a token
Right.
that can be exchanged for cash.
Yeah.
Again, that's okay. You go to the amusement park, and
So
you
it's a little bit of a cryptocurrency and a little bit of a rewards program.
well you go to the you go to the amusement park, and you give the lady behind the counter $50, and she gives you a bag full of tokens, right? And you go over to the pinball machine and you put 2 tokens in, right?
Yeah.
Well, you kind of have an idea what the value of that is, but you really don't know that you just put in $1.25.
Yeah.
Right. So when you convert dollars to satoshis, it's a token at this point. Right. But it's a token that has real value that can change minute to minute.
Mm-hmm.
But in your brain, you put in $50, and when you send someone a third of or 25%, let's say you got 100,000 satoshis for your $50. Again, I'm just doing rough math, and you send somebody 25,000 satoshi tokens or satoshi Bitcoin. It is then you just sent them $12.50.
Does a single Satoshi have a fixed value?
Or yeah. So
market driven based on some algorithm out there like a Bitcoin.
All right. So remember this number right now. Let me get my calculator up because I can tell you right here. I've got it up in. I'll just show people on the screen. And
so it's not a traded cryptocurrency.
Oh no, it is. It is a.
Well, it's traded, but not in the same way that. Like Ethereum.
It's tied to Bitcoin, directly to Bitcoin. Let me show you the screen. So I have 2,250,893 satoshis.
Gotcha.
In
That's
my
mapped to the Lightning Network with Bitcoin.
Right. And then if I flip the little switch here,
right,
it is equivalent, and it's the same thing. I can cash this to Bitcoin. It is 0.02258 Bitcoin. It's worth $371.95. That's what's in my account. So if we do the simple math of 2257893 divided by, and what was that number again that I just said? 300 and what was the number I said? 371.95. I divide it by 371.95. That equals, I did it the wrong way. 371.95 divided by 2257893. At this very moment, a single Satoshi is worth 0.0001 cents.
That's a pretty small number.
So if we multiply that by 10,000, so when someone sends us 10,000 satoshis, that's equal to $1.64.
Right.
Or if someone sends me 50,000 satoshis, that's worth $8.23 at this very moment.
Right. But that could fluctuate based on the price of Bitcoin?
It's going to go up and down. It's tied directly to Bitcoin because a Satoshi is like 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin. There's again, don't quote, or 1/100th of a millionth of a Bitcoin or something like that.
And it's changing constantly.
It's changing constantly. So whatever but again, the thing you have to think about is when you, as a listener, get $50 worth of Satoshi, or then it's just, people are going to hate this, but I just say it's okay. You're sending them 50,000 tokens. You're sending them money.
Right.
But no one, in going back to your original question on Patreon, if someone was going to send me $8,
that's fixed on the US dollar, right?
So let's just say they send me $10, right? How much, what is Patreon's cut
Well,
So this is a really, really important part of this conversation. What is Patreon's cut?
it's probably a percentage, I would imagine.
It is 5%.
Right.
Well, some of them are on 5%. So if someone sends me $10, and I'm not going to get $10, right? What am I
Gonna-
going to get? I'm going to get $9.50.
Right. It's going to cost 50 cents.
Right. I'm going to get $9.50. If someone sends me 50,000 Satoshis,
Mhm.
I'll end up getting like, matter of fact, there's
I
a,
don't even know if we can do that in our head, can we?
well,
What that percentage is. Yeah.
it basically, I can see it because of the Saturn thing. Let me look at the dashboard here.
I think that the Lightning network
okay,
takes
so
a fee.
So when he donated 50,000 Satoshis, it cost him 980 sats. So it cost him to send that. Well, that was the fee, 980 sats times what would you say? 0.0001. So it cost him like not even a penny
To actually send that.
to send that. Now this is where the world can change because of Lightning Network.
And these transactions are all done through the Lightning Network, and they take a small piece.
Small piece.
Right. I think that the one that you just had up on the screen, it showed the Lightning Network commission was like 300,000 sats to transfer that whole total.
Where did you see that at?
It was up on the screen.
All right.
But you had it up there.
So it says, well,
Okay.
My Bitcoin wallet is
Okay,
800.
payment.
My-
okay.
That's
Wait,
my
wait.
wallet, and this is I have a
Oh.
Bitcoin wallet and a Lightning wallet. So I have two
Okay, so-
wallets.
Okay, so there's multiple payments that are listed in the Lightning wallet
Right.
there, right?
So when I sent 500,000, when I set up a new channel,
Mhm.
or no, when I sent some money into the system, I sent 500,000 sats into my wallet. It cost me 373 sats to get them there. So just think about that again. Even though I sent 500,000, that transfer fee was 373. So, and the other one was 235. It
Oh,
depends
I
on
see.
the route that it took to get there.
Right.
So in the end, the what-
percentage loss is less. is what you're saying.
less. And this is why, with the way Value for Value is working, it's why we can send 1% to Podcast Index. It's why when Fountain sends a donation to this show, they can set their 5%. And actually, you pay that on overhead. I get my full 50,000.
Mhm.
And the sender pays depending on how sometimes the splits are taken out sometimes, but usually the person can see what the splits are. The splits are what makes this interesting and what makes this work and what gives Fountain and all these other apps the incentive to do this. Now, when Blueberry adds Value for Value to our platform, we will probably decide if we'll take a split. Maybe I'll set up 1%.
That's an interesting comment you just made, Todd.
What's that?
That you're going to add this platform.
Oh, we're going to add the ability for people to put a GetAlby wallet on Blueberry
Mm-hmm.
and be able to, but we're going to have something where I haven't fully decided, but if I take 1%, that's going to help cover a little overhead for all of this and the code base and whatever else and providing this as a service. So Blueberry or I can take 0, so it all,
Does
go ahead.
this need to be ultimately supported by all the listening apps, I'm assuming?
That's the key. All the listening apps have to support it.
So with what's going on right now with kind of the public perception of crypto.
So crypto
Yeah.
from an investment model sucks. right
Well,
now.
it's
Well, it
yeah, I
has
think we need
issues.
to draw a little bit of a distinction here because people tend to say crypto and they think everything, right?
Let's say keep saying Bitcoin. This
Right,
is
because
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is not actually, from what I've technically heard, I don't believe it's considered to be a crypto platform. I think
I don't
it's
know the
considered to be-
definition, but this is
yeah,
Bitcoin Lightning Network.
right.
And
Bitcoin is going to survive. What's
whoa,
happening.
absolutely, absolutely.
And I think we all would benefit from it surviving.
When the
right.
problem becomes, and I don't want to get too crazy here because we've just heard about this thing with this FTX,
Right,
and
which is
Alameda, which is
pure crypto, and they were playing games
Oh,
with your crypto
anytime,
or
Yeah.
with your Bitcoin,
Right.
and your Ethereum.
anytime there is a human that can manipulate things,
Right.
things are going to go sideways. And with Bitcoin being decentralized, in other
Right.
words, even a big government, probably at this point, even if they set up spend a bunch of money to set up servers, probably they might have a little run in the day to affect Bitcoin, but they would lock them out. There would not be manipulation of Bitcoin going on.
Well, there is, I believe, Todd, there is an attack on Bitcoin.
Oh, it's not necessarily Bitcoin. It's about these bad characters that run services associated with it.
Right.
That's
But
the
I
issue.
do believe that larger entities are trying to close those off.
Oh, I'm sure the U.S.
right.
government would love to set lots of what's
'Cause
going to
they
get.
want to have their own crypto.
Well, guess what? It's people are foolish. It's just like they make. We could spend a whole show talking about the insanity over FTX.
Yeah.
I posted a
It
link.
was a Ponzi scheme, is what it was. Really.
Well,
Yeah.
we could go real long, and I only know a little bit of the surface of this, but this again, we're talking about, okay, so we've been talking about value for value, value for value, value for value. This is just one thing of, like, Mike and I were going over the list the other day. Mike Dell, my VP of podcaster relations. Yes, we have one of those too. Him and I
Congratulations, Mike.
and I were going over essentially going over the podcast 2.0 initiatives, tags, and different things that are going on. And I'm like, all right, you need to get into the phase 2, 3, 4. We need to be like looking deeper in the stack now. It's very public. I've got my team engaged in doing code, right? Not right now. People are getting ready to go enjoy Thanksgiving, but we're in the middle of, we've done all our UI designs, and now it's a matter of implementation. So the key here really boils down to is I'm going to be, like, next week, I'm going to do nothing, but I'm going to be creating the podcaster-facing documentation of, okay, this is what this is, and this is what this does, and this is why it's important. This is what this does, and this is why it's important. And you'll probably never have to use it, but maybe once in a while. And I'm going to go through and make the use cases for why we're doing this, so we can start the education piece to the content creator. Most of the stuff, they're not going to have a clue. Every show is going to have a lifetime GUID for their show. Podcaster don't care. Someday they might when they move their show. Yeah. But that's just something that's on our side. And then there's going to be like this text tag that they'll never have to use until someone tells you, hey, go put this code in your text tag to identify that this is your show, claim ownership. They're going, what's that? And they're going to go look through their face and say, oh, there's the text tag. Let me paste in this code and save it. And they're not going to know. They're not going to care. And we don't want them to. But what we do want them to care about is just like putting in the person tag for this show, or credits. We're calling it credits. We're not even calling it person. Because what do you mean person? What's that mean? It's credits. Put in your credits at the show level. Rob and Todd are the host. And then in the episode level, we'll have credits and then a selector for guest. Yeah. So all these things that we're going to implement and our content creators are going to get educated using, and we're going to start filling the RSS feeds with this data. And then guess what? We're going to turn the podcasters loose on the apps and say, how come you don't show credits? Well, what is that? I have credits in my RSS feed. How come you're not showing them in your app? Oh, I have the value tag in, and I have my link to my PayPal.
Yeah.
How come you don't have that in your app?
Yeah.
I'm in Value for Value. I have a Lightning address. How come you're not supporting Lightning donations through your app?
Right.
I'm going live with my show and announcing to the world that my show's live. How come you're not switching my show to live? So I can't tell app developers what to do,
Right.
but podcasters can. And if the podcasters are smart, they're going to start using these apps like I'm using them. And I'm going to tell my audience to use those apps. And they're going to get over there. Maybe they're not happy with the Fountain app. And they're going to say, well, how come Overcast doesn't do this? And they're going to send a comment to Marco. Marco, why can't I watch Todd's show on your app when he's live?
Right.
So it's a whole ecosystem that's going to fill. Now, is it going to be easy? Nope. Is it going to happen overnight? Nope. How long is it going to take? A couple of years.
Todd, do you think that what's happening with the crypto market right now with FTX and all the bad press out there, that it's going to set this SAT opportunity back?
No, as long as we
for some period of time.
as long as we educate correctly that this is not an investment vehicle. This is a way to show support for a show.
I agree.
You buy whatever you need to support a show. That is, you forget about the value of what that number is once it's in there, and you tokenize it and gamify it into a donation, and it's going to go up and down. 1 week it's going to be worth $8.23. Next week that donation is going to be worth 10.
Yeah, and I think, certainly what's happening with Bitcoin needs to
but Bitcoin is not
turn around a little bit.
But Bitcoin is not the bad apple here.
No, it's not. It's not the bad apple. But it's actually the store of value.
It's true. It's a store of value. You know.
Right.
So,
and if that market turns around, if Bitcoin turns around in its value, my worry is that the exchanges are under attack right now.
The exchanges are run by people who have looked to figure out how they can empty consumers' wallets
right.
and doing this crazy Ponzi schemes. I feel bad for those folks that have lost millions of dollars, to this idiot, to this criminal. You're talking about a lot of money. That guy, if that I would have security. You talk about losing millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of people's money.
Well, and Todd, the other factor of this is given a rationale, a reason, and a motivation for the government to crack down on crypto too.
Rob, if you take the time and look at everything that transpired and who got money and how stuff was tied together.
Oh yeah.
It goes all the way back to politics. And that's part of it. And the other part of it's pure greed and and incompetence. I have a Facebook post that I saw. Okay.
There's a lot of people that don't want crypto to be successful.
Oh, of course. Visa, MasterCard, American Express,
and
PayPal.
And FTX was taken advantage of.
They
I believe,
do
by
not.
some unscrupulous characters.
No, these were idiots that was running.
No, I agree with you. No, totally.
So if there was a video that
there was a lot of legitimate people involved in FTX.
Oh, I fully understand. But there's a post done by that was on the daily.co.uk. It's linked in my Facebook archive. You can link and you go watch the just about a 2-minute video.
Right.
By that gal that was, I guess,
I saw that video. Yeah.
Now, Rob, would you have trusted her with $100? Would you
Yeah,
have
she
given
didn't-
her? Would you have personally given her $100 of your money and said, "Go invest this for me"? After hearing, if you'd heard her, and then would you today not just if you saw the video, didn't know
Right.
she was part of Alameda, didn't know anything, just would you give that individual $100?
Probably not.
Not
I
a
would say.
chance. I could trust.
I'm surprised that she was in charge of a platform that was so important.
I
right?
could trust a 13-year-old
Well, that's
that
the equivalent.
that has a lemonade stand.
Right.
I could give them $100 and they would bring me. I would trust that 13-year-old more. After I saw that video, I slapped my. I was with a group of people and we watched that video and I was like, and they've been entrusted with billions of dollars.
I think they were used.
No. I think they
Yeah.
were. I think they were greedy. I think they were incompetent. I don't think. I think people just
Smarter
got.
people had to be behind that.
I
Todd.
don't think so. I think it was a big snow job. Anyway, we can debate this all week, but the main thing is don't put any association. Take all that associated with FTX and all this other stuff that's going on. And I have a Coinbase account. I buy a little Bitcoin. I transfer it to my wallet. That's what I
Right.
did. I transferred it
Right.
into my Lightning node. And again, I'm not recommending you do this, content creators. I'm an idiot. I can transfer that into my Lightning node, and it sits there. And if my Lightning node crashes, I lose. And if I don't have my recovery code, I lose $371 of my own money. But it's in.
That's the price of living at the cutting edge, right, Todd? Is that you can get cut.
That's right. It's in my hardware. I have to maintain the hardware.
Right.
It's so I have my recovery, 82 character, password thing saved in a safe place. But again, it's like, don't do this. You don't need to do what I showed you guys in this. You don't need to do this. Do not run a Lightning node. Don't.
I'm never
Okay.
going to run a Lightning node. I buy Bitcoin on a weekly basis
So-
myself. It's an automatic purchase.
So
I've
go
been doing
on.
that for years.
Okay, so go on,
Yeah.
get Alby
Right.
and set up a wallet.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, that's enough on that. But to me, again, I'm probably the audience sick and tired of hearing about this. But
Probably.
you know what? There's not a lot of news going on.
No. Well, there's always a flow of stuff. I don't know, Todd, if you saw the article that was written by Nick Qua, your favorite guy.
Oh, I haven't read anything from him for 5 years.
So he wrote an article for, was it vulture.com?
Lovely. I'm sure the sky is falling.
Well, just kind of set this up. The title of the article was "Podcasting is Just Radio Now." Did you know that, Todd?
Oh, really? Well, I say he hasn't changed too much.
Yeah. Yeah. So that sparked a whole discussion on LinkedIn
Oh,
with a couple of folks that were involved in the podcasting space. And I believe it exposed some of the divisions in the podcasting space, to say the least. I mean, as you think about the topic of podcasting is just radio and how we would, vehemently disagree with that. I
Right.
think most people in the podcasting space would vehemently disagree with that. And maybe Nick was doing a little link bait here to some
Mhm.
degree. But I think where he's going with it is you think about NPR and you think about public radio and how that's always been, since the very early days, been very linked up with podcasting, right?
Mhm.
Public radio, NPR, PRX, all those that have had strong connections to the public radio side. So you're seeing this division that's happening in the industry, right, between professional content creators and indie content creators. So I think what we've seen is some hubris around the egos that we've been talking about for many years, and Nick certainly is a representative of that ideology and that division, right? That these professional producers, public radio and stuff, are kind of in their own little ego bubble, right? of what they do, and to the exclusion of 90% of the podcasting medium. So, and I believe that's a little bit of what's going on here. And this discussion between, you look at like a Joe Rogan,
Yep.
right, who many perceive to be as not professionalized content, right? It's like it's like a talk radio, like a Howard Stern type of a show, right?
Yeah.
You could, if you're looking at things from the lens of radio, you would see Joe Rogan potentially as just like Howard Stern, right? That's the kind of show he does. So it must be like radio, right? So and then you see like a This American Life type of a production, right? Which was also on radio, right? As a very successful podcast, is that these are the models of the future, right? And that's the thought process behind this whole discussion, was that somehow radio podcasting has now been co-opted by radio.
Yeah, I don't believe that in a bit.
Yeah. And that somehow radio is kind of now really the highly produced, highly polished productions now are what podcasting is about going forward.
Okay, great.
I don't know what you think about that, Tom.
Okay, so they are.
Well, I think the big question
they don't
is,
make up the majority. They don't make
what is the percentage? And I think we've seen some numbers in the past. I think the highest number I've ever seen is half of the market is these professionalized podcasters.
No way. Half?
Well, that's what Tom Webster has told us, right?
Impossible. It's half. Let's go back. Do you think that professional radio is producing?
No, it's not professional radio. I'm talking about professionalized podcasts.
Do you think there's 100,000 professionally produced podcasts? Not in your life. There's not.
No, but a disproportionate amount of downloads.
Oh, well, maybe.
Right. So you look at the 30
not disproportionate
podcasts that are done by National Public Radio.
Not
you factor that based on how many downloads each one of those shows have.
Disproportionate numbers of what people see.
Right. Agreed. Totally.
I got a question answer thing from a reporter recently, and it'll probably be maybe coming out next week. And one of the points I made is one of the points I made on this show a few weeks ago, is that there are an incredible number of high number podcasts. 500,000, 1 million downloads, listens per episode that are getting monetized in big ways as a part-time basis. And they do not in any way want their numbers to be known.
Sure, right.
For fear they will lose their JOB, their regular JOB. And they're making 6 figures, close to 7, big numbers annually. And those numbers never make it into any chart anywhere.
That's not even to speak of all the big shows that are like down in Argentina and Brazil.
I'm just talking U.S.
Right.
So there's this. And we see what the numbers is on our network. We know who the top 20 are, top 25 or 50. Right. In no way do those top 50 shows make up anywhere near. I know the percentage. It's. Be careful. 80 to 85% of monthly gross downloads are still coming from the bottom 97%.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Bottom 97% make up, again, 85% of the monthly total gross listens and downloads, where that top 3% makes up like 20%.
Right.
15 to 20%. So at least in our numbers. Now, if you are a Wondery, that's probably different, because you don't serve the masses. You serve the top shows. So all your numbers are going to be big over there. Or if you are
right for all of the shows that you're working on,
for those Right.
handpicked them
That's
to
right.
be shows that will
Right.
that'll have
Because
the potential.
you've ignored the 97% of other shows that are out there. Now that goes to a comment I want to make about the last couple of shows we've done. I have gotten more email that ask me, do not read on the show, do not say my name, mainly saying I agree with you. But
On which points?
the last show rang a bell, Rob. The last show where I talked about media buyers being lazy and the space is not going to grow to where it wants to grow because they're ignoring everything. And I had a plethora of direct
I had a
messages,
feeling that was going to
direct
do that.
messages on Twitter primarily, DMs that came and say, don't say my name, but I agree 100% with you. I can't say it publicly. Thank you for having the courage.
Right.
Yeah. And I know he's listening today. I had a conversation with somebody on LinkedIn. Well, it was a one-way mess. I got pitched for a service. And obviously, I don't think he had listened to this show. Asking me about what Blueberry needs help in brand safety.
I can imagine. There's probably that could be a couple different
So
people that I can think of.
So want to talk. And my response probably was a little surprising to him. And I asked.
So it was him. Interesting.
Well,
Okay.
no.
That tells me a lot.
Someone was pitching me to have a meeting about brand safety and what Blueberry was going to do. And my response was, we don't have any brand safety issues. We don't. We're not having any advertisers that are asking us about brand safety. I don't. And then I went into my whole thing about brand safety is just a disguise for, we don't need to go it over again. So he has responded on LinkedIn. I haven't looked at the response yet.
Okay.
So I'm sure he has subscribed maybe to the show now and listening. But I'm not going to talk much more about it. But it was so ironic that they had come in after we'd spent.
Well, it was just inevitable because all those platforms are reaching out to all the hosts right now.
Right,
So it was it was totally inevitable that was going to happen.
Right. And
I've been talking to all of them now for like, I don't know, 6 months now.
And I'm sure my response was probably gotten with a, huh.
Yeah.
They run into the rebel, the rebel of the group.
Yeah.
Oh man! And tell you what, the last IB meeting, I wish they would I wish they could be. I wish the last one could have been recorded and publicized.
So Todd, did we ever make the full cutover to 6?
To what?
To the IP6?
No, we're on IPv4.
Okay. So, right.
Yeah, so it's
just a matter of time on that one, right?
We have seen we keep watching, and we're not seeing everything. Right. It's a matter of time, but
haven't saturated the numbers yet.
Oh, I think they're pretty much saturated, but
okay,
I think there's enough stuff going on where people are adopting IPv6 in different areas that it's not impacting podcasting too much yet because it hasn't really filtered down into the United States and the big consumers of content.
And I guess there's a couple of ways you can hack it too to make it still work, right?
Yeah. So I don't know the technical piece on that, but I don't think we see any IPv6. And maybe it's because we hack it so you can't see it. I don't know. I'm not the tech guy, so.
So Todd, I heard from a little bird that has been regularly using Descript. That this person has been playing around with using full transcripts to create audio.
Oh.
I mean, not full transcripts, but full scripts
to
actually auto-generate. And a full show
How's that?
using their technology.
Does anybody know that they're doing that?
Well, the comment is that they don't feel like the capability is quite 100% there yet.
Oh, I'd love to hear a sample of that.
Right.
Why didn't tell your little bird to send me a link? I'd love to, or a file. I'd like to listen.
But they did say it's very, very good at doing editing. So let's say you want to replace a word.
Right.
It's very good at that because it's something that you can be passed over very quickly and people can't really tell the difference.
And as a matter of fact, we've got a relationship with Descript because we have an integration with them. I should send them an email and say, how are you putting anything into that media file to show that there has been AI used to replace words?
Well, I think that's being commonly done now.
But where's it being
where
documented?
We're still at the beginning stages of using a tool like that.
Yeah, but
to generate the whole episode.
Is the tool making a notation in the metadata that this is a modified file using AI to replace words? Is there a disclaimer coming out of Descript on that?
I don't believe that you probably need to do that.
Oh, I think absolutely you have to. If they're
word replacement?
Absolutely. If you're going to use an AI to change a word in an audio file, just from a pure safety standpoint, someone could take hours and hours of our content and train
That's true. Yeah.
AI.
Yeah, I see where you're
and
going.
they could come in here and they would take this audio and they could replace 4 or 5 of my words at any point during the show and
give it a different context.
And give a different context and cause my house to collapse.
Yeah, but Todd, I believe that I signed up for it. I don't know if you have.
I have an account
on the cloning, the voice cloning is a verified. So you have to be verified in order to clone.
How do they verify you? Driver's license?
Their platform. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I did it at one point, but it's been maybe 6 months ago. But
still, it should be on them to mark in the metadata of that file that this has been modified. Now, that could be stripped.
Well, Todd, let me give you my thought on it, too. I mean, it was more like if you're auto creating this whole episode, see, that's where I was going with this.
Right. I know what you're saying.
You're basically writing a script.
Yep.
And you're basically uploading it to the platform.
Right, and having it create.
Use my voice that I've trained Descript to utilize to create that full episode. That's what was being played with here.
But there's no emotion. There's no pauses.
No, that's not true. That's not true. They have the capability in the platform now to have the voice representation have various levels of emotion.
Whoa.
And pace. So
you
can
very scary.
Right. So you can actually create kind of a natural, and some of that comes out of the training that you do, and it's very extensive. I mean, you go through and you basically read all sorts of other scripts to train the algorithm to know how you speak.
I'm glad that it doesn't work real well for creating a whole podcast yet.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point. But I do think that it is an interesting thing to think about from the standpoint of having Descript analyze an audio file, right? Make a transcript out of that, and then take that transcript and put it out in all sorts of different languages.
Oh, that's
using
right.
your voice.
I could see that. That would be huge.
Right. And I think ultimately that's probably where they could go with this.
That'd be super valuable.
Right. So you could set up an auto generation process where that could
come
happen.
out in French, and it may not be as good, but who knows?
But it would be voiced in
your voice.
In my as close proximity to my voice is probably what would be technically possible. But because there is different inflections that different languages have that may be hard to replicate in the algorithm.
There is something. There is something that I wanted to talk about. I can't remember. It must not have been that important.
It'll come to you.
Oh, I think I know. Let me look at my phone. I've got some notes in my phone.
was-
How long?
Pulling that up too.
How long has it been? You know, Dave and Adam, you guys. I have half a page of notes from the last episode. What Dave and Adam came up with after a roundabout discussion with one heck of an idea. So, and it's kind of funny because we built stuff years ago that we no longer use on our platform. So we have the ability to create OPML files. Now, Rob, we're going way back here.
That is way back. That's
Okay.
Dave Weiner stuff, right?
But so for those of you who don't know what OPML file is, it's just basically it's a meta language.
Well, it's basically an RSS feed of sorts for RSS feeds.
Well,
So
let me give the
it's
official
kind of-
definition. It's an outline process markup language. Let's be careful. Let's say it the way it's
how Dave used it was to categorize and list
right. It's
other RSS feeds.
It's a tree. It can be an outline, that type of stuff.
Right.
So we used to have, like, for every category on Blueberry, we had an OPML file. For all our program lists, we had OPML file. We had the whole tree of the whole platform. Well,
you can make a full directory
right. So
of podcasts based on OPML.
when you get to a couple million listings in a directory, creating that OPML list is a little bit
It's
of
heavy.
a little process lift.
Yeah, right.
We also had still have a service called MyCast, and MyCast is a situation where content creators that are consuming content on the Blueberry directory can create their own playlist. So this was in the early days where you could take you could subscribe to 10 different shows. We would put that in a private not private, but we'd put it in a custom RSS feed that they could use on a mobile device to have a playlist in their mobile device. And it's still in existence on the platform. Not a lot of people use it. But at the same time, we also had the ability to output, or we outputted an RSS feed and we outputted an OPML feed.
Right.
So why? I don't know. That's just what Angelo did when he built the platform,
It was one of those things that was kind of a cool thing to do back then. Yeah.
And
right.
so Dave is having this discussion about recommendations. How do we get recommendations? Well, Dave says, well, we should get, an output OPML list from Blueberry and from Libsyn and from Buzzsprout. Whatever what's your hot 50 shows going on right now?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I can do that. It's, we can go through and scrub the system and we can put, what we, put no particular order. I could very easily create a top 100 list at Blueberry and put that out. And then Adam came in behind and said, well, that works until we allow people to buy a position in that list.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Because the analogy that Adam gave is he spent $10,000 to buy his way onto scripting.com's default subscribe list and basically it paid off dividends for years for Dave and, on Userland and Dave's platform. So Adam flipped it. He said, well, why don't we get the apps and other platforms to allow listeners to submit their playlist just like they would on Spotify, to be able to say, hey, here's my playlist. I'll put that in an OPML file. They aggregate that data up of all those playlists, and all of a sudden, you get enough of that going on. Guess what you have? You have a discovery.
Yeah.
You have a ability to find out what listeners are really listening to, and have a very cool way to get shows seen that hadn't been seen. Some of these shows that are no longer in the stats, the shows that are on, getting a million downloads. Imagine if a show had 1 million listeners to a show and 30,000 of them shared their playlist, and that show is in 30,000. All of a sudden, you're like, who is this? Who's
Right.
this show
Right.
that is popular and no one knew about it?
Right.
And I thought that's pretty remarkable, and we don't have a lot of people using our directory MyCast system. But I got to work Monday. I'm like, clicking through, and I'm like, pressed on the button, and the OpenML file didn't generate. It's broke.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, so I sent a Slack message to the lead dev, and I said to her, do you know anything about this section of the code? And and 20 minutes later, she goes, this, and she sent me to a partner of admin. I said, yep. And she says, it's broke. And I said, yep, it's broke. And I said, I'm going to put in a Jira ticket to fix that.
Mhm.
And then we'll see. And maybe what we'll do is maybe we will then create an OpenML tree. Basically, we'll have a completely anonymized. It'll be a Blueberry generated OpenML list that comes from listeners that use our directory, so that we will actually be the source of the tree. And if podcasters opt in, we'll just attach them to the OpenML tree, so that they know that each of these trees contains the playlist of a listener. Now again, that could be manipulated too, because I could create 100 trees and
Right.
and jack it, but who has the time to do that?
Right.
So, but once they get them raw, they can start pulling them themselves. So there's all kinds of like discussions that are going on that it running home to mama. It's like stuff that we're doing. Here's the thing, and please everyone understand this.
It's funny how things come back.
From 2004, from October 2004
Right.
to June 2005, the conversations that Rob and I are having right now were happening on a daily basis about how to make podcasting better and what to do and what was possible and all these things.
Deja vu. That's what I
And
call it.
in July of 2005, Apple introduced podcasts to iTunes.
Right.
And those conversations stopped.
Stopped. Right.
Stopped. We screwed ourselves. Blame us.
The innovation stopped. At
The
that point.
innovation stopped.
And that wasn't the only place it stopped. It stopped in a lot of other thinking. Like even what we see today as Twitter
Right.
is the result of that change.
So innovation stopped. So when you hear me getting all giddy about this stuff, please understand this is like kicking cobwebs off of conversations that we were having in 2004 on how we were going to make this whole ecosphere better. And for 17 years, well, for Dave and Adam, 15 years. It took me to 17 years before I got kicked in the head to say, what have we been doing? What have we been doing? Why haven't we? So Apple, I'm sorry. We're train's moving. You are now a legacy application. Spotify, you are a legacy podcast application. Google Podcasts, you are a legacy. Now, we know you have lots of listeners.
Well, Todd, podcasting is becoming radio now, so I guess that's the proper analogy to draw.
No. So when I get excited about this stuff,
Right.
I hope we get the context to come back, and it was just like, and I wrote in my notes, literally, OPML, oh my God, WTF. That's what I wrote in my notes from the show. And I'm just like,
I thought it was a remarkable technology back then. I mean, I was playing around with it too.
yeah, me too.
I mean, there was whole listening apps that were based on OPML. Feed readers were based on OPML technology.
I don't read code, but if I did, I bet you if we dig into the core of Blueberry's directory, I bet you there's OPML buried in there somewhere.
I mean, Dave Weiner really, he really pushed it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he built the first kind of, I think,
Radio userland product.
I think it was maybe the first podcast directory was.
Dave is still OPML, man. He is still the OPML guy, from that regards. So again, you don't need to know what this thing does. Only we're going to again, let's go back. It's up to me. It's up to all these other apps to get on the bandwagon here.
I mean, OPML is really easy to understand.
It's easy.
I think
it's
basically a tree structure of lists.
It's easy.
Right. It's really what we all use today in iTunes. It's a directory, right? There's different categories.
Yep.
And there's different shows in each of the categories. Well, that's essentially what OPML is. It's basically a directory tree. There's a top level, and then there's sub lists that are underneath it. It's great for creating playlists. It's great for creating just a directory.
And Dave was the designer of OPML, just so we know that.
Right.
So all this stuff again runs back to Dave Weiner. Here we go.
He's the inventor.
Of a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. So again, I just want you all to understand now. Are we guaranteed success? Nope.
No, because there's folks out there that have a goal of being proprietary. OPML RSS is not built on a proprietary platform. It's open.
We will succeed if you as podcasters decide, let's say you don't believe in the crypto piece or in a Bitcoin piece. So let's take that segment V for V and just take that and sit over the side.
Right.
So I'm going to watch it for 2 years. But all this other stuff, there's no reason not to get excited about that. And if you don't get excited, please tell me why you can't see the benefit for show growth, show interaction, let's tie in, let's go back up another piece. So everyone's, gotta leave Twitter. Gotta leave. Oh my God. Elon Musk bad.
There's so much FUD out there.
It's like they're equating Elon Musk to Donald Trump. They're treating him the same way. It's like, Elon Musk, bad. So a whole bunch of people have moved to Mastodon, and they're like, oh, I can see when you're online. Yeah, that's the way it was built. I can't see every thread. Yeah, that's the way it was built. I'm not getting my dopamine hit. Yeah, that's the way it was built. Mastodon is a place where you go to do work and get things done and have intelligent conversations. There's a lot of FUD out there, but the way I put it up there was I said, number one, and by the way, we did launch a Mastodon server for Blueberry customers and Blueberry customers only. And I have geeknews.chat. Mm-hmm. Todd sets the rules for geeknews.chat, and the local conversation in that instance is GNC listeners, and some people have jumped in and they followed a few people. And so our scope of the Fediverse is very kind of tight. Blueberry.chat will be the same way. It'll be Blueberry customers, the local conversations will be going on, and then there will be people following people out in the Fediverse, and there'll be a little bit of a federated feed going on there. Yeah. Podcastindex.social, that's where we're all talking about the podcasting 2.0 stuff. That's where all conversations are going on. Yep, there's still a little bit of Fediverse stuff there, in vice versa. It is built upon a protocol that is tying in to this cross-app communication stuff. And it's everything is coming full circle here. Yeah. And Twitter's I can't launch my own Twitter, but I can launch my own Mastodon instance, and I can be the only one on there and be fat, dumb, and happy. I don't have to have anybody else in that instance. and I set the rules. You don't like my rules, you go somewhere else and hang out in the community that you want. So what will happen with Mastodon is there, and it kind of what's bad is there's going to be siloed conversations. There's going to be the woodworkers Mastodon. There is going to be the Mastodon about, There'll be a bunch of Mastodons, and then you'll still have the federated, but there's going to be this local conversation going on probably about what that server was designated for. I could see that shaking out.
And I can see that happening with Twitter, the direction Elon's pushing towards
So,
too.
well, Elon's never going to open it up like that. It's never going to happen.
It's not going to be the same, no.
But
Um,
I think what we'll end up seeing here ultimately is Mastodon may end up benefiting podcasters more than many other groups, because we're going to be able to say the point of conversation for this episode starts here. You can still start on Twitter, but
right.
I think there's just huge, and I there's a word I'm looking for that's on the tip of my tongue. What is the protocol? Oh my God, I should have had a place marker put in front here.
Todd, do you think that these concepts that we're talking about today in this episode are they're not topics that are similar to like they were when we first talked about them? I think the industry
It's
back then
it's got sophisticated.
was all on board, right? Because
Right.
back then we were all geeks, right?
Yeah,
So-
for sure.
So we cared about this kind of
Yep,
stuff.
yep.
But fast forward 18 years to today,
Mhm.
and my fear is that all this excitement and all the things that we're doing here around trying to bring some innovation to the open platform
Yep.
of podcasting, we're talking to our own choir here. We're talking to our own community.
Right now we
I-
are. Right now we are.
I worry that the other side of podcasting is just not even interested.
Well, they're not at this point.
Right.
They're not.
And that gets back to what we were talking about of earlier, which is around this topic of is podcasting becoming radio?
No.
That's the community that I'm talking about.
Well,
is-
they can go do
right.
their own thing. And guess
Yeah,
what?
so-
guess what they will
so
do?
the
Guess,
new reality is we have a split, divided medium.
nope. What will
Right.
happen is they don't know what's good for them yet. They've now recently.
They think they have it all figured
Well,
out.
guess
Todd.
what? They said that 10 years ago when they were all going out to the smoke pit or going out and have a cocktail during podcast sessions.
Right.
All right,
That's
you
true.
guys are idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. We don't need podcasting. Now they've started to figure out what podcasting's about, and they're starting to do podcasts. We have moved on.
And they don't invite us to go to the radio events anymore.
No.
'cause They've
No.
created their own people.
So
right.
we have moved on. We are going to the next gen, and guess what they're
Right.
going to do? All of a sudden, they're going to be like, we can have our
the
show.
same pattern, right?
You mean we can, when we go live, we can announce on the apps we're live, and it flips to live on the app. When they'll call a meeting, and you'll have to talk to 30 suits to explain what this does. So
So does that mean that this is what we're talking about here is destined for another 15 years
No.
before they catch up?
no, that once we figure this out and get it cranking, they're going to get someone on their team is going to come to them and say, look at this.
Right.
And someone's going to have a literal holy shit moment.
Right.
And then they're going to go and they're going to say, how come this is not on the iHeart app? How come this is not on?
Right.
How come? And they're going to make pressure, and the infrastructure is going to be in place. And guess what they're going to have to do? Adopt open RSS mechanisms. So, what are we doing here? We're future proofing.
Well, we're taking their argument away that podcast RSS is not innovating. That which was painted by Michael from Anchor, right?
But Rob, they think you and I are just country bumpkins. We don't know what we're talking about. we're just some dudes. We're just some dudes that are nerds, that are old curmudgeons, that
Well, that's what they.
So guess what?
Podcasting wouldn't exist if it wasn't for nerds and curmudgeons like us.
Well, the podcasting space would exist without both of us. So don't ever.
Well, no, I'm not saying you and I specifically. I'm just saying
Right.
the ideology and the thought process behind what we're bringing, or I think to a great degree what you're pushing and what Adam's pushing and Dave and everybody is pushing the industry towards is a it's a podcast, truly a podcast 2.0. This is the next iteration of podcasting is what's happening, and we may see the same pattern that happened prior to this, which is that innovation happened with the technorati, and then the mainstream media folks, which we know who I'm talking about here, are slow followers.
So let's say
that's the pattern.
Let's say some entity, some Fortune 500 entity in the podcasting space, the Apples, the Googles, the Spotifys of the world, all of a sudden say, that's kind of cool. We're going to adopt that. Or,
But Todd, it has to be their idea though, so it'll have to be done in a different way, right?
I don't think so. Not at this point. That train has sailed. But if it takes just one of them to say, that's cool what you have done. So let me throw this in neutral. And again, if you're not listening to what the conversations are, you're not going to get this. But there's some new stuff that's being considered right now that all of a sudden, if some big entity said, we're adopting this because of this, and I'm being real cagey here, this whole industry would freak out. And it's evolving metrics.
Oh, yeah.
If some entity says, we're going to use this protocol because we're doing this to protect listener privacy, people's heads are going to spin.
Yeah.
And I think that there is the potential to see much more rapid integration on some of this stuff and development if any one of those entities says, we're adopting this because we're worried about listener privacy,
Mm-hmm.
The whole industry will be, they will gasp.
Yeah.
And then the rest of us that have already been thinking about this will be 2 years ahead of them. Not that they can't catch up, they will, but they'll have to. So there could be, it's just like, my crystal ball says the podcasting space needs podcasting 2.0 in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
The podcasting space as a whole, even the people that aren't playing, are going to come to some point and say, Dave, Adam, the Buzzsprout gang, the RSS.com, the Blueberry, the Fountain guys, the new podcast apps.com app de jour, they're going to say, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
On the podcast standards group, right?
I might be wrong. But there's been many a times over all these years of podcasting where people have said to both you and I, oh, that ain't going to happen. That's dumb. Why would you do that? That's outdated thinking. That's stupid. Because they're not listening to the conversations.
Right.
I don't have one of
Well,
those.
that's a big factor of
And they're chasing
some
money.
people don't like to lose control.
Yeah,
over
yeah. They're
what's
chasing.
going on,
They're
too.
chasing money right now.
Right. And if they give in to open standards, then they are giving up a certain amount of control.
Open standards are here. They there's going to be silos. Let them be silos.
Well, there's always been silos. I mean, that's always been a part of this medium, because whenever you get companies involved, there's agendas, and those tend to create silos.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the very fabric and the infrastructure of this medium needs to be built on a silo. And
So
that's been under threat over the last couple of years.
So did I give you guys something to think about? Did we give you something to think about over the Gobble Gobble holiday? Are you tired of hearing this? Are you reading between some of the lines? Are you understanding some of the implications? I shouldn't, I don't need to talk about any of this. Neither do you, Rob. But guess what? We care about the space as a whole.
Yeah.
And I'll let people come to their own conclusions.
Well, you get into a economic climate like this too, and people tend to run to their corners.
Yeah.
It's the protect and huddle and climb into the turtle shell, and this is the time when we need to be working together more, because when we come out of this economy and we come out of this spell that we have right now, we'll be in a much better place to take advantage of the disruptions that are clearly coming, and this medium will be in a better position to take advantage of those, I think, pending disruptions.
There are geniuses that live among us, and I appreciate all of them very much, because it's making this old dog have deep, deep brain working sessions about old ideas brought to new, and things that can, in all these years of experience, and being able to say, holy shit, look at that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do them all. Some of it's cool. Some of it's the dopamine hit for the week, and it goes in the back shelf, and, we'll see where things develop. But this is my challenge to everyone heading into Thanksgiving. Go over to Podcasting 2.0, go over to podcastindex.org, and if you see the little PayPal button there, drop them a donation of thanks for helping potentially, not potentially, for helping some new ideas come to space and giving us some cool stuff to talk about. Mm-hmm. Go over there and drop them $100, $500, $1,000, whatever you think the value that they're doing to bring to the space, to help bring the space, move it, advance it. Cash resources will help them do that. I'm not asking you to give to this show. I'm asking you to go over there and give to that team. Very small team. A team of two. They're doing, and actually not a team of two. There's a team of two primary idea folks, but there's 100 other people that are working on stuff.
There's a bunch of other people. Yeah.
And make sure you're supporting all these new initiative ideas and apps with your cash, because they're all running on a shoestring budget at this point. They're not getting rich. They're doing this because they love this, not because they're looking for an exit, although I'm sure they all want an exit.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew.
Yeah. Heavy stuff today.
Not heavy.
The new media show.
Fun. So, Robert. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just I think we're kind of reaching a point with a lot of things in this world today. Are we on the cusp of positive change, or are we on the cusp of negative change? And at the end of the day, it's up to all of us to make sure that that's positive change. And it's an important time.
And we
think.
did get another boost. But I don't see where it came from. Our balance went up, but I don't see it. Where did it come?
It's an anonymous.
No, it's we got a boost, but where did it go? I don't know. It didn't show up in the reporting system. Well, we might be back on HeliPad before this is all over. All right. I'm Todd at blueberry.com, BLUBRRY.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee, and I'm now verified.
Oh. And
So,
I am on Mastodon at Todd at blueberry.chat. At Todd at blueberry.chat is my Mastodon address. And Rob, you twist my arm hard enough. Maybe I'll launch a new media show Mastodon, and you can manage it or something. I don't know. But
there you go.
But I'm already running 2 instances. I don't need to run a third. So,
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, and I can also be reached on email to rob.greenlee@gmail.com is a great way to reach me, and I have my own website, robgreenlee.com too, so you can reach me over there.
it's been our pleasure to bring you a show, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Have fun eating turkey. Are you cooking tomorrow? Are you going somewhere?
I'm flying out to Seattle.
Oh.
I'm gonna go spend some time with my dad.
Yeah, I'm going to walk across the street to my sister's place and eat with my mom and sister, and then I'm going to do something that is been looking forward to. I'm going to veg all weekend. I'm going to watch YouTube, Netflix. I'm going to hang out and probably drink too much and have salsa and cheese and all kinds of stuff and just disconnect for 4 days. So
I think that's good, Todd. I think that's very good.
yeah, good luck if I actually do that. So
As long as you have your mobile phone with you, you're always working, right?
That's
Is
right.
that the problem? Yeah.
yeah, that's a problem. All right, buddy. We'll see you back here next week. Everyone take care.
Okay.
See you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Whoops.